Welcome in everybody to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down 3 possible landing spots for Chris Jones. Chris Jones has been in the media a lot recently, and it has not been for the right reasons. He threatened to sit out the 2020 NFL season if he does not get the big contract extension that he's been asking for. So over the past few days, I've come up with a few preferable destinations that the Chiefs might trade him to. One major detail of this mock trade is Chris Jones will not be going to an AFC team. All the trade destinations in this video are all NFC teams. If you think that he's going to go somewhere in the AFC, great for you, but I just don't think that's realistic. Today I brought on Michael Hebner, and we're going to give you our thoughts on the 3 destinations that Chris Jones could get traded to. Now, the first destination that I think is the most plausible is that the Chiefs send Chris Jones up north to Seattle to the Seahawks. So, Michael, what do you think of Chris Jones in a Seahawks uniform?
I think it'd be a good move for the Seahawks. I mean, ever since losing Frank Clark, they needed a defensive lineman to fill that void. Obviously, I think they kind of struggled a little bit last year defensively. I mean, they still have a good defense, but
they're kind of lacking that big piece.
Yeah, it wasn't the Legion of Boom. I don't think they'll probably have that for a while, but they definitely, I think, would be wise to pick him up. It would be beneficial for them, I feel.
I mean, this is literally the exact same situation that the Chiefs were in a few years ago. I mean, this is the Frank Clark situation all over again. Seattle had to trade Frank Clark. He was going to hold out. He wanted a contract extension. The Seahawks did not have the cap space at the time, so they traded him to the Chiefs. The Chiefs gave him a big extension, and all was right. So the Chiefs are in the exact same situation, and I can see this move happening. The Seahawks have a lot of cap space. To be exact, they have $59.7 million in cap space. A lot of NFL insiders think that Chris Jones is going to go to an NFC title contender, and the Seahawks fit that mold. So I could definitely see Chris Jones going up north to Seattle.
Out of all the teams, I think that would be the best fit for him. I mean, it would obviously make Seattle a serious threat overall, but I don't know. It would be interesting.
Now, the next possible destination for Chris Jones to go to is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Michael, what do you think of this possibility?
Yeah, I mean, this is my least favorite choice. I don't think it would do well for him to go there. They're obviously I don't even know if they're in a rebuild stage because
they're trying to compete, but they have a lot of question marks on that roster. So I could see Chris Jones going down there and being very effective, but at the same time, that defense is not exactly great. I mean, they got Shaquille Barrett, who is a stud, and to add Chris Jones to that would be pretty great. But besides that, that's pretty much their defense.
I mean, yeah, they need him, I think. I mean, a lot of teams need him, but I just don't think that's a good fit for him. And I don't think he'd want to go to Tampa Bay because it's like you're trading the new thing, basically, for the old thing, right? You got Tom Brady and Gronkowski and whoever else they have on their roster. And then your defense is going to basically be the person to mop up for Tom Brady anytime he makes a mistake or the offense isn't performing to a Tom Brady level. So that defense needs to have someone who can, I guess, be their leader, be their playmaker, their Khalil Mack, that guy who's constantly getting sacks that they can always rely on. They would have that in Chris Jones, but I just don't see him going there. I mean, to go from Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it would be a downgrade if he went to Tampa. And again, that's why I think Seattle is just a great place. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Jones would like to win and get paid, but if it came down between money and winning, right now I think he would take money because he's already got a ring, and if he can go somewhere and get paid a lot more, I think he's going to choose that destination. And the Buccaneers have a lot of cap space. They're slated to have $85 million in free cap space that they can do whatever they want with. And I think that if Chris Jones gets a big number from them, I think that he would choose that destination just on the fact that they're giving him more money than everybody else.
It could be a good fit. I think it would be a downgrade if he did it. I just don't like it. And it's not the fact that I don't like Tom Brady and Gronkowski. It's just
Well, it's definitely a downgrade. I mean, you're going from Mahomes and the best team in the league after coming off a Super Bowl win to a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. They had Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback, and the man threw more interceptions than touchdowns. So, I mean, there is a very big difference, but at this point in his career, after winning that ring, I truly do think that he would pick the money in this situation.
I get the whole financial thing, sort of. I disagree with the whole holding out, but if you really think you're worth that much money and someone's willing to pay for you, then, I mean, that's capitalism. Go.
And the Buccaneers have all that money, and they could definitely pay Chris Jones what he wants. We could be looking at the start at a very good pass rushing duo between Shaquille Barrett, who had 19.5 sacks last year, and Chris Jones, who is one of the best defensive linemen in the game. I mean, this would be a lethal pass rush, and I really think that Chris Jones would fit Todd Bowles' 3-4 defensive scheme. So I think it would be a good fit. They just would not have the same amount of winning success that he would have with the Seahawks. And our final trade destination for Chris Jones is a very interesting one. In our final mock trade, we have the Chiefs sending Chris Jones to the Arizona Cardinals. And this is a very interesting trade because the Cardinals are a rebuilding team, but they have a lot of upside. They got Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, a new linebacker that they got in the draft who is very good. So Chris Jones could be a big piece on a very good upcoming team. And the Cardinals coincidentally also have $51.5 million in available cap space. So, Michael, what do you think of the Chiefs trading Chris Jones to the Cardinals?
Yeah, that would also be interesting. They're in the same division as Seattle, so that would kind of be funny. It would be a good move as well. I think better than the Buccaneers, but I still think Seattle's just the perfect place for him to go. I think he would definitely be one of the top players in Arizona, so he would definitely get paid more, and he'd get a ton of play time, but then he also has the issue of getting injured often, so naturally having him play all the time might not be a good thing, but it'll be interesting.
Chris Jones to the Cardinals probably makes the least sense just because they are rebuilding and they're not exactly there yet, but it'd also be the most interesting because who knows if Chris Jones makes that team into something that is possibly contending for a playoff spot. I mean, there is an extra playoff spot in the NFC this year, and even though it is kind of loaded, Chris Jones is a hell of a player, and I could see him making a very big impact on a rebuilding Cardinals team. One option that we didn't talk about in this video because it's a lot more video topics is Chris Jones might not go anywhere. I mean, he bluffed to sit out the 2020 NFL season, but at the same time, he's never made more than $6 million in his career, so I could see him staying this year and unfortunately playing under the tag mad. He would be very upset, but at the same time, he knows that if he plays well this season, he's going to get that massive payday that he's been wanting. So that is an option that we didn't cover, but out of the trade destinations, I think that those three spots have the best chance of actually happening. So Michael, in conclusion, where would you like to see Chris Jones go?
I think Seattle, if he was traded at all, would be the best and most likely location. But like as you mentioned, it's not a guarantee he might stay. I don't think the Chiefs will trade him unless someone makes an offer. I don't think the Chiefs are going to look to trade him unless something comes up and it's like, hey, we want this guy. We've got Chris Jones. We're willing to trade Chris Jones. Or if they're really in need of, say, a first-round draft pick or whatever, because they see a draft prospect they want, maybe they'll trade him. But I just don't think they're going to really make an effort to get rid of him unless he's absolutely positive on throwing a fit over $4 million.
I mean, well, right now, over the pandemic that we're going through, it's going to make trading players very difficult. So I could see him just not getting traded because of that reason. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think that the best fit is Seattle, but the most interesting is the Cardinals because who knows if he's the missing link on that team that sets them over the edge. The Bucs would be also very interesting. He'd make that defense better, but I just don't think that he would have the same amount of success in Tampa Bay that he would in Seattle. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Where do you think that Chris Jones should get traded to? Hopefully the Chiefs can make the right decision that will benefit both Chris Jones and the franchise. Thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys really enjoy the content on the channel, the best thing you can do is subscribe. I would really appreciate that. You can also support the channel through the Patreon. The link to that is in the description. Thank you everybody for listening to the KC Sports Report by Michael Darcy.